My name is Dmitry Karmanov. I'm a traveler, having visited over 50 countries, and I've highlighted the top 10 most beautiful countries I've been to. I talked about the first 5 countries in the previous video, which you can watch via the link in the description. Now, I will tell you about the remaining 5 most beautiful countries that I have visited. 5th place in my top list goes to Switzerland. If I were to describe Switzerland in 2 words, they would probably be wealthy, tranquility. This is a country that we all probably imagine through various pictures, advertisements, and photographs. But in reality, it is much more beautiful than we imagine. And only by being there, by traveling through this country, walking along its roads and paths, do you realize how truly beautiful it is. In other words, it exceeds expectations. There are so many beautiful places in Switzerland that it's hard to single out just one. These are literally entire regions. You can base yourself there, for example, in Gandalfed, and from there make excursions to all the surroundings and see the Bernese Alps, for instance. And there, every place is special. There are such blue lakes, mountainous, transparent. If there are transparent ones, there are those with such blue water as if it were dyed. Somewhere there are sculptures at the bottom. You row a little boat and see a sculpture underwater below you. You walk along these paths and cows come towards you so calmly. And the cows there are like buranushkas, very folksy. They have not just bells, but actual bells hanging around their necks. And they walk like this, gently jingling these bells. This sound is purely alpine, which you can't confuse with anything else. The sound of jingling bells on the cows. They are everywhere. They are on free range. They graze on these alpine meadows. They look at you lazily. We are the masters here, they say with their gaze. This is our grass, we will eat it. The difference with Switzerland is that this country is super comfortable. All the hiking routes there are marked, mapped, equipped with signs, funiculars, some trains, buses, and parking lots. This country is made for traveling in comfort. Yes, of course, everything is expensive there. When we went from Switzerland to neighboring France for a day, it felt like we had stumbled upon a sale. And everything there seemed to have a 50% discount compared to the prices we saw in Switzerland. In Switzerland, it is certainly expensive, but it's worth it. Among the places that are a must-see in Switzerland is, of course, the fairy tale Lauterbrunnen Valley. As you walk through this valley, you realize that, yes, this is the very place that inspired Tolkien's Elven Rivendell. Yes, it is indeed a truly elven place. It has a completely unique fairy tale atmosphere. We talked about Ireland, a fairy tale. But this is the place that is, yes, but the quintessence of some kind of fantasy, elven, not medieval, not urban, but elven fantasy. You absolutely must see. Now, the Aletsch Glacier. I have seen many glaciers in my life, but in terms of power, probably nothing compares to Aletsch because it is like a giant river of ice. That is, it's not just a tongue of a glacier that we usually see, but you can climb a mountain and from above see this gigantic river of ice that moves, I don't know, several centimeters per hour. So you don't see this movement? Yes. At first, it seems like it's just a big river of snow or ice. You start descending. This river starts becoming bigger. And when you see that at its base, well, there on the bank of this river, there are people, they are tiny. And then you realize how small and insignificant you are compared to this gigantic wonder, this enormous glacier. And of course, you must see the famous Matterhorn Peak. It's that very triangular peak, the mountain depicted on Toblerone chocolate. The chocolate itself is in the triangular shape of this mountain. Yes, you need to see it. You need to walk around it from different sides because it is probably one of the most photogenic, one of the most beautiful places in Switzerland. The fourth place is the United States of America. The first association is majestic nature. Truly majestic because everything in America is grand. If it's a canyon, then it's the biggest canyon. Yes, the Grand Canyon, which you absolutely must descend into, and you cannot consider yourself a traveler if you haven't seen the Grand Canyon. If it's trees, then they are the largest trees on Earth. These are the sequoias. This is Sequoia Park, which you ascend into. It is located in the mountains. And at first, it seems, well, yes, trees. Well, yes, very large trees. When you approach the base of this tree and realize that you, as a person, can hide in some wrinkle in the bark of this tree, and you simply won't be visible from that wrinkle, you understand, yes, damn, these are truly gigantic trees, and you've never seen anything like it. The USA it's a country of greatness. In the USA, everything is big, and they try to make everything big. They build big houses there are gigantic cities. When it comes to nature, one of the most impressive places is probably Monument Valley, a large reddish-orange plain on which these gigantic rocks stand, each truly resembling a natural monument, like some pedestal, like some temple. Beyond Monument Valley, there is also the Valley of the Gods, which is less known. And there the monuments are in the form of some sculptures, though all of which are natural formations. This was not made by humans, yes, and of course. All of this resonates with you on some kind of archetypal level. Canyons. The Grand Canyon is, of course, the most famous of the American canyons, but I wouldn't say it's the most interesting, right? Because the same goes for the Antelope Canyons. There's such a play of colors, a play of light and shadow. When you enter the underground canyons, it just feels like you've stepped into some surreal dream, because what you see around you doesn't correlate with the real world at all. Yes, of course, you can take fantastic photos there indeed, but the feeling itself, which photos probably can't convey, is worth it. You absolutely must explore the Antelope Canyons, although it's not that easy. There's Bryce Canyon, where there's a giant plateau of such natural columns, among which you wander and get lost in this vast forest. There's Goblin Valley, where it seems like little clay figures are sculpted over a large area, and you get the feeling that you're entering, I don't know, Tolkien's Moria, surrounded by these goblins. Probably the place that impressed me the most in the USA is Death Valley. It's the driest place on Earth. There's a lot there. There are sand dunes, there are multicolored, seemingly painted rocks. And there's one very strange place, the shore of a dried up lake, scattered with stones. And these stones move. You don't see it with your eyes, but each of these stones leaves a trail. Scientists are still debating why this happens. And well, there is some more or less plausible theory that seems to align with the laws of physics. But when you see it, it seems like pure fantasy. It's like some kind of poltergeist, or, I don't know, wizards or psychics have worked on it. In other words, the feeling of unreality doesn't go away. You walk very carefully so as not to damage this miracle. And it's a very large area. You don't understand how this happened. But this ability to amaze is something that cannot be taken away from the United States. By the way, traveling is not only my hobby, but also my profession. If you liked any of the places that I talk about, or if you want to visit some other place, you can message me privately on Telegram with the word travel, and I will chat with you. I will find out what you want, or how you want it, develop a route for you, and organize the trip of your dreams. To do this, write to me on Telegram via the link in the description. So we've reached the top 3. And in third place in my ranking of the most beautiful countries is Japan. Japan and beauty. For me, These are synonyms. Japan is a country where beauty is elevated to a cult, and nowhere else in the world have I seen such an attitude towards beauty as the Japanese have. In Japanese parks, gardeners literally place every blade of grass, every pebble, every leaf in such a way that it looks perfect. Yes, so that it is most harmonious. Behind this lies a tremendous amount of human labor, centuries dedicated to the study of beauty. And when you enter Japanese parks, it leaves, well, a stunning impression. After visiting Japan, I probably can't perceive ordinary parks anywhere else in the world the same way anymore. Japan is the country that sets the standard in terms of beauty, particularly man-made beauty, human beauty crafted by hand. Probably no one can surpass the Japanese. Yes, if you want to see a truly harmonious creation of beauty, then you should go to Japan. The most beautiful view from a window that I've ever had in my life is the view of Mount Fuji, Fujiyama, with its snow-capped peak, a triangular mountain. That is completely reflected in the calm surface of the lake. And a few Japanese cedars grow along the shore. It is the quintessence of beauty. You immediately understand why so many poets composed poems about Fujiyama and so many artists painted it. Because it is such, it is beauty in harmony. That is, Japanese beauty is beauty in harmony. The most impressive thing in Japan is the cherry blossom season. One can say that cherry blossoms are not only in Japan, that it is a blooming cherry tree there. But if you haven't been to Japan during the cherry blossom season, you cannot understand what it is like. There, cities, parks, gardens, streets, villages simply explode with this white bloom, white, pink, reddish. There are different shades, different types of this cherry blossom. You see a world that seems familiar, which becomes completely different. Everything changes beyond recognition. Right now, these images of blooming cherry blossoms are running through my mind, and I realize how much I lack the vocabulary, my lexicon, to describe how beauty can be expressed in words. Yes, perhaps you could indeed insert some poems, Japanese haiku, but even that probably won't convey everything you feel when you see the cherry blossoms. Yes, in Japan, there is a cult of the cherry blossom. Whole families go to a park for the entire day, lay out blankets, sit, eat, and they have this concept called hanami, which is the enjoyment of the beauty of blooming cherry blossoms. If you haven't seen the cherry blossoms, consider that you haven't been to Japan, because perhaps the quintessence of this country is concentrated precisely during the time of the cherry blossoms. Yes, there are other beautiful seasons in Japan, like the season of red maples, for example, at the end of autumn, the season of blooming wisteria, the season of iris blooming. But the cherry blossom season it's something without which it's hard to imagine Japan. It's a beauty that you cannot miss in your life. Second place in my personal top is Yemen. Yes, I know it's unexpected. Probably many of you haven't even heard of this country. But out of all the trips I've been on, this was probably one of the most beautiful, emotional, and memorable. Yemen, in my view, is a completely different planet. This includes both mainland Yemen and the island of Socotra. If mainland Yemen is more like something out of a world of sword and sorcery, yes, when you stand on the peaks of the Haraz Mountains, looking down, you see this barren, rocky plain, terraces with dried plants. The predominant color is gray. But Here and there are scattered villages, small villages, surrounded by stone fortress walls. And below are clouds, because it's high, these are mountains. When I first saw this, I had a strong association that I was looking at a map from the computer game Heroes of Might and Magic. And all of this was right in front of me. I am observing this with my own eyes. One night I was looking at photos on the internet from different places and stumbled upon something completely unreal. Yes, it seemed to me, well, how can such a landscape exist on our planet? Yes, I was so impressed that I woke up my wife. I said, look at this place. Let's go there. She said, well, that's great. Yes, let's go. She was also inspired and supported me. And then I started planning this trip. Socotra is a place where on a rocky plain, there are sharp volcanic stones. Through all of this, through this barren soil, completely. Strange and fantastic trees grow. Yes, trees that look like bottles. Dragon trees with sprawling sharp crowns. Yes, on Socotra, there are long white beaches where there isn't a single person. You walk onto the beach, look one way to the horizon, there's no one. Look the other way to the horizon, there's no one. You're alone on this beach, and in 2 hours, fishermen might come to pick you up. And there's no one. It's a completely uninhabited place. Warm water, crystal clear. Crabs scuttle around, burrowing into the sand. So it's this kind of fantasy that, on one hand, combines all the most beautiful things on earth, specifically tropical beauty, and on the other hand, it's completely alien landscapes that you immerse yourself in, and at first they just, well, knock you off your feet because you can't understand how such a thing can exist. For me, Yemen is a combination of the incompatible. It's a blend of such beauty that you won't see anywhere else. And the first place is Norway. Norway probably holds a special place in my heart because it resonated with me. To this day, on all my computers, the same picture is on the desktops. It's a view from above of the Lofoten Islands near the town of Reini. At that time, I climbed a mountain. By the way, it was the polar day. It was already past midnight, around 1 or 2 in the morning, but it's bright there, bright as day. Looking at this photograph, you don't get the impression at all that it's night. There I was, I climbed up and I saw this. I took a breath and couldn't exhale because at that very moment I realized that this was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen in my life. I understood in that moment that I was seeing something amazing. What unfolded before my eyes was what truly overwhelmed me. When talking about Norway, probably associations like rugged beauty, northern beauty, and pristine nature come to mind. You can drive in northern Norway for hours without encountering a single oncoming car. In what other country can this happen? In Siberia, it sometimes happens, but even then, it's rarer. And meanwhile, you are surrounded by such landscapes: waterfalls, mountains, fjords, seas, snow right here, glaciers descending from the mountains. So it's something that you can absorb. It's something you can't get enough of. When I remember Norway, when I think about Norway, when I look through the photos I took there, tears come to my eyes. It's that very beauty that brings tears to your eyes. You can list many places. All of Norway is beautiful. Yes, you can recall the north, the Lofoten Islands, Cape Nordkapp, the northernmost point of Europe, extending into the Arctic Ocean. There's the city of Tromsø, Trondheim, the city of Ålesund, which is situated on small islands, a little town that burned down 100 years ago and was rebuilt by all of Europe. The best architects came there. At that time, the Art Nouveau style was popular. And so the whole city is in one style, built from wood and stone, very beautiful, with floral ornaments. And you walk there as if in a museum. Everything is in one style, which is usually not the case in other cities. of course, there's the Trollstigen. It's a winding serpentine road that climbs almost vertically up a cliff onto a mountain. This is the Geiranger Fjord, probably one of the most beautiful fjords in Norway, which you absolutely must sail through to see all this beauty from below, from the water, and then climb the mountain to look from above. And it feels like you're soaring from a bird's eye view, looking down at the fjord below with mountains, on the sides, a tiny little village, and a huge ocean cruise liner that has arrived at this village. And you're watching all of this from high, high, high above. To you, this liner is gigantic, but it looks like a small box from up there. The Troll's Tongue is a horizontal rock that juts out over the lake. It's a place of power. Yes, you need to walk 4.5 hours to get there. But when you arrive and see people sitting on the tongue, it seems like it would be scary. But when you step onto it, you just merge with nature, feeling as if some energy is flowing through you. There is no fear, but there is a sense of the grandeur of what you see before you, and probably indeed some kind of energy recharge. There is the magnificent Preikestolen, or pulpit rock, which hangs vertically over the fjord. You step out onto this platform, and before you, like in a theater, a spectacle of fjords and surrounding mountains unfolds. There are magnificent glaciers with blue ice, which I also walked on with special equipment. And these are also indescribable sensations when you see from afar what seems like the tongue of a glacier. But as you approach, there are these giant blue cubes, mountains of ice. I have probably mentioned a few places, but it's still difficult to single out specific locations because all of Norway is beautiful. From north to south, it's one big picture of harsh northern nature that, well, touches me. That's why it is at the top of my list. If you haven't been to Norway, I wholeheartedly recommend visiting. And I truly and sincerely believe that it is the most beautiful country in the world. If Switzerland is comfortable, well-maintained, regulated, yes, beautiful, but you feel like you're in a big reserve where everything is good for everyone, right? And there are quite a lot of people around. Then Norway is wild and free, especially in the north. That is, you travel there, you don't see anyone around, you're one-on-one with all this nature. It's a completely different feeling. The feeling of being some kind of pioneer. The feeling that you are, I don't know, the first person on earth who has descended upon it and suddenly saw all this beauty before you. I've never experienced anything like it anywhere else. And of course, the tropical beauty of places like Indonesia, for example, or Socotra, and the northern beauty, these are two huge differences. It's just very difficult to compare them with each other. But the north is closer to me. It resonates with me. That's why Norway is the best and in first place. For those who haven't watched the beginning of my review of the 10 most beautiful countries in the world, I've left a link in the description of the video. Go ahead and watch it. I also have a wonderful video on my channel about the 5 most dangerous countries in the world. Again, in my opinion. If you haven't seen it yet, go to the description, click OK, and watch. And of course, enjoy every moment of both life and travel.